Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Yeah. Ever meet someone and you're like, I gotta record this conversation because it's so deep and it's so interesting, and that's exactly what happened to me. Last week I had one of the coolest conversations with someone who's a physicist and a channeler, and apparently that happens more frequently than I had imagined in Sedona. He's one of those people that when they start talking, you're like, I gotta record this because I don't know if I'm gonna remember it. And so I did record it, and I've been watched it probably 2 or 3 times, and I get something different each time. And he had some really interesting concepts that I wanted to share with you. Ultimately, it is about getting to the imagination, but before the imagination, how do we process information and how do we get there?
Anything that we encounter or is in the universe as far as our reality goes falls into one of 3 categories. So the first one for most people is thought and information. So anything that we think, anything that we record, any data falls into the first category.
Okay.
And then second one is, for most people, not all, but is physical reality, what we do, what we experience, what solid gas, liquid or solid in our reality.
Yeah.
And then the third category is whatever we feel, our emotions. So what we feel or choose not to feel that gets stored in our body, what we don't feel, also affects our reality. So everything has to fall into one of those 3 categories. Thought and or data, physical reality, including our body, and emotions. And feelings, or also spirit resides in that same level. So then if we look at how we interface with that with regards to time, our mind cannot be in the present. It absolutely can't be in the present. It has to be in a stream of thought, which includes the past and or the future, or a combination of both. But our mind has to stream thought through and see time played out, even if it's in our mind, in order for our mind to interface with reality. Our mind can never be in the present time. And then our body, our physical reality, only exists in the present time. It doesn't exist in the past or the future. We can't experience that. We can only experience our body right now, in the moment. Our emotions know no time whatsoever. They manifest through our body, and they don't know if what I'm feeling happened today or 10 years ago or 50 years ago. They know absolutely no time. So if
That's true, because you can have a thought and a memory and experience it as if it's happening right now.
If I have an emotion, good, bad, or otherwise, that I didn't feel, especially in the past, then it comes through right now in the present as if it was happening in the moment.
Exactly.
And it can only come through in my body.
Yeah.
So somebody like Eckhart Tolle talks about the
Power
power
of
of now,
now.
because the now brings us to our center in our body. And through that we can experience our emotions and we can evolve. But when we're in our mind, then that keeps us from our connection with God or the source. Because if we can't connect with our body, we can't get to our emotions in the present.
That's interesting, the way you brought that together, because what I heard you saying is the mind, there is no, it can never be present because it's processing data that is already either happened or
It thinks is going to happen.
Or thinks it's going to happen, which is interesting because there was an experiment done. They were showing slides, just pictures, right?
And exactly that. So on some occasions, they found that the heart had some precognitive abilities, which is a stretch now for some people, because the heart reacted in the way that it would react before the image came up. So what happens is if you're seeing a positive, happy, loving image, you get a smooth heart rhythm. If you see a stressful, upsetting image, you get a jagged heart rhythm. And the heart was precognitive. So even though the researchers didn't know what image was coming up, some way, shape or form, which is a bit of a belief stretch for a lot of us, the heart was reacting before that image came up.
Your body, it was already reacting to the next slide. How is that possible?
Because at our intuitive level,
Yeah.
we already know all the possibilities. If you look at a martial artist like Bruce Lee knew what the person he was interacting with was going to do before they knew. Because he's so centered in the moment. In the moment, everything.
How do you get that
So
skill?
centered in the moment, breath is the fastest way to get there, through our breath. So through our breath, it engages our mind into the present moment. It stops the streaming. It focuses on our body and the moment all at once, and then the emotions can come through, and we can be centered in our mind, body, and emotions all at once through our breath. Is the fastest way there.
Through the breath. Because when you're focusing on the breath, you're not thinking. Is that it?
Because we are as close to the moment as we can be with our mind, and it connects us with our body, which is in the moment. When we're feeling our breath, that's happening at the moment, and we're, in a way, we're tricking our mind into observing instead of thinking.
Observing instead of thinking.
And so to make it even more interesting, in our mind, we cannot connect with God, so to speak, at the same way through our emotional self, but it is our mind and the mind of God that creates our reality.
Well, this is when we would have to decipher between the brain and the mind, because the brain, I think, is a set of, it's a physical thing. It's something where you can do brain surgery. So brain is in a way, the vessel, the computer.
It's two things.
Right? And then the mind is the mind of God. When you say the mind.
And that's the second thing. So our brain is two things. It's a computer and it's a radio receiver. So
receiver.
If we're computing through where we're at or where we want to be based on our past experiences, then it's operating as a computer. If we're in touch with our intuitive self, our God self, intuitive self, however a person wants to label that, then we're a radio receiver, and we're bringing it through from a higher level, from a higher being. That's how if we're in touch in the moment with that radio receiver and our emotional self, our God self, then we're connected to everything that's happened at all time. At the Akashic level, where all information exists,
yes.
Everything exists, the past, the present, and the future. And so when we're centered, then, and our mind is calm, then we can access all of time, including a moment from now or 10 years from now.
Wow. Have you experienced that?
Yeah.
And how do you do it?
I have to slow down. I'm not a person that naturally slows down. So the way I do it best is when I'm at high speed. If I'm riding a motorcycle or I'm doing something where my mind is engaged and my body is moving, then I'm at peace and I can access all time. Or if I'm able to slow myself down enough through intention and through my breath, then I can also access it. It's the two extremes. It's either extreme calm and quiet, or it's extreme motion for me.
But it's interesting because the times I've been on a motorcycle and the times we were talking about driving, when I've been driving, those are the moments I have the most clarity because I'm still, but I'm moving. And yet at peace, and I'm not talking about traffic, I mean on those long road trips, or when I'm behind someone on a motorcycle and I have this feeling of just, it is bliss. It's like a feeling of flying in a way, because I'm not in my head at all. I'm experiencing the wind and the environment, and all of a sudden I'm in a different frequency. I feel like I'm in a different frequency of just absorbing the now in a way that's also engaging and exciting because I'm moving.
And your mind's out of the way, and your body's happy because moving center people, some people are extremely based on moving center. Moving center people are happy when they're moving, and then our mind is engaged and our body is happy, and suddenly there we are centered at however many miles an hour you're moving.
And that's what it feels like. It's like a peace I have when I take road trips. But do you feel like the heart, I feel like you've mentioned emotion, but I feel like the heart actually is what runs the mind. I feel like the heart is the essence.
Two separates, but the heart is our deepest connection with the universe. So that's a long conversation. That's a lot longer conversation.
It is. You can't really simplify anything, but I just feel like the heart is the one that I think they're discovering more and more runs the mind.
Through our heart, we can interface with the mind of God. Through our mind, through our mind alone, we simply cannot connect with our higher self. We have to be in in a bodily experience centered in the moment in our body before we can connect with higher energies in ourselves.
But isn't the higher energy apart from the body?
Yes.
I feel like the body is part of the ego. It's part of the costume that we've grown attached to. So when you're saying you need to be in your body to feel that, some people would say, well, psychedelics or whatever takes you out of your body, and that's when you can connect. Because we're so attached to this that we feel we are this.
So
well, we aren't this. This is what we're in.
So a psychedelic distracts the mind, or quiets the mind, and moves the mind aside. And then through our mind, we can see those things, but in my opinion, we're not connecting with those things. We're just observing.
Ah, interesting.
And we're not connecting at a deeper level. The deepest level that we can connect with our God self is truly through the same place that pain comes. So if a person's ever been in a place where they cried just deep tears of emotional release, then a lot of times right after that, all this washing wave of love comes through us. Because 100%. That's at our deepest center. For me, and the way I see it, is through our heart self, through our heart chakra.
That's right. That's why people are fascinated with looking at an animal or looking at a child. They haven't learned to suppress anything yet, and they're still in that. When I was a substitute teacher, I'd walk into the room and they'd go, Miss Rachel, yes! It's like this expression that is so freely available to them, and then we are told to not. Don't cry, Johnny. Don't be upset, or it's all that.
But that's okay. Emotions don't know time. So 40 or 50 years later, it'll just come out through therapy or the universe throwing shit in our face until
forcing us to experience
that. Because law of attraction says this feeling that and I keep going here because that's too
right.
So those feelings that we didn't express they're carried within us, and they need to be expressed. So then law of attraction, our friend, says, oh, you need to feel this emotion? I can bring you something to help you feel that emotion.
Well, this is what I've said to people close to me, because I've experienced it. I said, well, let's look at this. Do you want to be pulled by vision or pushed by pain? Pulled by vision or pushed by pain. This means that I would rather, the reason that I got my master's in psychology wasn't to attain a job or to anything. It was to go, I'm going to have to learn these lessons anyway. I'd rather learn them consciously than through pain, because most people, they remember things via pain, so they learn the lessons. Where I said, I want to learn this about myself, but not necessarily through a painful circumstance. I want to be pulled by vision rather than pushed by pain. And there are certain lessons that we have to go through no matter what.
Exactly. Some we have to go through the pain.
There's nothing we can do.
And then once we're through that pain, then we can use our mind to visualize what we want. And through our attention, through our imagination, through our visualization, through our attention.
Intention, right?
And intention, exactly, that's the best word for it probably. Through our intention, then we can create the world that we want. But we cannot do that typically until we've experienced that emotion that needs to be felt, and then we can move past that. So first we go to the pain, surrender to the pain, and as I have talked to so many days, saying the pain won't kill us, but it feels like it will.
It does.
And it'll only kill us if we fight it. If we fight the pain, then the pain will kill us. But if we surrender to the pain and we're willing to feel those deep pains and cry the tears or however we need to process it through, then the pain gets out of the way, and then our mind, through its intent, can create what we want.
It's after the surrender and the going through. It's like the storm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the surrender of the rain, or it's that. And whenever someone apologizes when they're crying, I say, "Are you going to apologize when you laugh?"
I like that.
Same emotion. I mean, different sides of the coin. You're not going to apologize if you laugh really hard, although some people even have a hard time doing that because it's letting go of control. And it's saying you are actually pushing forth this emotion in me, and that's a control. So a lot of people who don't laugh, in a way, you're surprising them. And the study of laughter is actually called jelloology, which is interesting. And it comes from a surprise. And our great, if you go back in years when we've been surprised back in the day, it was you're getting killed. You're going around the corner, someone surprises you, wasn't a good thing. But when they're going to surprise you and they don't kill you, it's a release. Like that's where the laughter comes from. Laughter is actually a release of fear, meaning, oh, I'm not tricked. This is funny. It's a relief that you're not going to be killed, but it's not you being killed, it's the ego. The ego, when the ego wants, that's everything we cling to.
Well, the ego is the only thing that can be killed. It's the only part of us that can.
But don't you think the ego, it makes you believe it's you. And
Supposed to, it's his job.
Right. And they don't have an ego.
That's
Or
his
maybe,
job,
you know,
it's
we wouldn't
supposed
have
to.
built these tall buildings and ego.
Without ego, nothing gets accomplished.
And nothing gets accomplished.
But with ego, we're limited as to what we can accomplish.
Exactly. So it's the balance.